From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
Palestine will be free.
يا صهيوني اطلع برا.
يا صهيوني اطلع برا.
فلسطين حرة حرة.
فلسطين حرة حرة.
يا صهيوني اطلع برا.
يا صهيوني اطلع برا.
فلسطين حرة حرة.
فلسطين حرة حرة.
From the river to the sea.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
Palestine will be free.
من المياه للمياه. فلسطين عربية.
فلسطين عربية.
من المياه للمياه. فلسطين عربية.
فلسطين عربية.
من المياه للمياه. فلسطين عربية.
فلسطين عربية.
1, 2, 3, 4, occupation no more.
1, 2, 3, 4, occupation no more.
5, 6, 7, 8, Israel is a racist state.
5, 6, 7, 8, Israel is a racist state.
1, 2, 3, 4, occupation no more.
1, 2, 3, 4, occupation no more.
5, 6, 7, 8, Israel is a racist state.
5, 6, 7, 8, Israel is a racist state.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Long live Palestine.
Long live Palestine.
Long live Palestine.
Long live Palestine.
When people are occupied, resistance is justified.
When people are occupied, resistance is justified.
Resistance is justified when people are occupied.
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 بالروح بالدم نفديك يا أقصى.
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 Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Long live Palestine.
Long live Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Long live Palestine.
Long live Palestine.
There is only one solution.
There is only one solution.
Intifada revolution.
Intifada revolution.
There is only one solution.
There is only one solution.
Intifada revolution.
Intifada revolution.
There is only one solution.
There is only one solution.
Intifada revolution.
Intifada revolution.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Long live Palestine.
Long live Palestine.
From the river to the sea.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
Palestine will be free.
When Gaza is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When Gaza is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When Gaza is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When Al-Aqsa is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When Al-Aqsa is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When Palestine is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When Palestine is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine.
Long live Palestine!
Long live Palestine.
All right. Thank you very much to everybody who came up today. Really surprised by the amount of people. So I want to say thank you very much for coming here and showing your support for the Palestinian people. There are a few things that I want to make very, very clear to everybody here. so we can have a nice, peaceful, but also extremely successful protest today. So the first things first is that, as you guys can see, there are some bystanders, some media people here, and there is a small chance that we might have some anti-protesters here. So for that reason, I'm going to ask you guys very please to please keep everything very respectful. Even when people may try to come and provoke you guys, people might come and say very harmful things. We're going to hold things to ourselves, keep our composure, and we're going to get our points across, because we're not going to lose our cool, because that's what they want. Second very important thing, as you guys can see around you, there are a lot of media here today. So we please pay attention. We're asking everybody here to please do not do interviews with the media. So when the media comes up to you, there are flyers being passed around. Please hand that flyer out to the media. If they ask for an interview and they insist, please either take them to me. We have Samir, we have Yasmin over here raising her hand, and we have a few other people. If you guys can raise your hands, please. Please just take the media to those people and they'll take care of things. The reason for that is because we don't want anything to be misconstrued. We want to make sure our message here is very clear. Now, third thing, why are we here today? Let's make this very clear. We are here to stand up for the Palestinians who have been under illegal occupation and apartheid for the past 70 years. And we're here to stand up against the killing of innocent lives. Now, one more thing before we move on. This is a message for all of you politicians. We are taking note of who is standing on the side of humanity and who here is standing on the side of the oppressors. Now, let's keep things here very peaceful, respectful, and inshallah, we're going to have an extremely successful protest. Thank you very much.
I don't see any counter-protesters. I don't think there are any.
Before we start today, I wanted to mention that there have been almost 3,000 people killed in the last week in Palestine. And in recognition of the innocent lives lost, we want to take a moment of silence to reflect on this and to remember that even though we are fighting for liberation, that liberation will not come without cost. And unfortunately, many people have lost their lives, and that is something that we deeply regret, and we do not want to continue for much longer. So please, we have a moment of silence for this.
Thank you. Before the speeches today, I would like to read Students United for Palestinian Rights official statement on this week and on things that have been happening in Palestine. So my voice is still kind of in the way right now. I'll try my best. This weekend, Palestinian resistance fighters have shown the world that their oppressors are not invincible. In the biggest step towards liberation that they have ever taken, the resistance movement in Gaza orchestrated and pulled off a mass prison break. Palestine's youth are now fully exercising their right to resist colonial occupation. Their advancements into parts of Palestine that have been occupied for over 75 years constitute many fighters' first return to their families' land after having lived through 16 years of siege in Gaza and after having been ethnically cleansed from their homeland. In response to the intensification of hostilities in Palestine, Super would like to make a number of points for the community's consideration. First of all, Palestine was ethnically cleansed in 1948 by Zionist settler colonists, none of whom were indigenous to Palestine. Israel continues now to operate as a colonial state that oppresses indigenous Palestinians through apartheid, mass violence against civilians, destruction of civilian buildings and infrastructure, restriction of movement, denial of basic resources such as water to Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank, imprisonment without trial or charge, including of minors, as well as widespread sexual abuse of minors in prison and other forms of repression. The West Bank and Gaza have been under military occupation since 1967,
56 years, the longest military occupation in history. This is a military occupation that has been ruled illegal by the international community. And as such, it is Palestinians' legal right under international law to resist the military occupation of their homeland. This year has been the deadliest ever for Palestinians in Israel. For Palestinians, as Israel has routinely assaulted and bombed civilian centers, including refugee camps, schools, hospitals, and religious institutions such as mosques, churches, and graveyards. This unfortunately represents an uptake in Israeli violence against civilians that has always been characteristic of Israel and of other colonial states like it. Al-Aqsa Mosque, the third holiest site in Islam, has been attacked multiple times by the IDF during prayers this year and in the past 4 years. The IDF notably targets Al-Aqsa during the holy month of Ramadan, when Muslims come together to pray and fast. Israel's government has continued to expand illegal settlements in the West Bank despite international condemnation. This expansion has come at the expense of Palestinian homes and villages, which have been depopulated and demolished to make way for Jewish-only settlements. An example of Israel's ongoing ethnic cleansing in Palestine. Finally, the use of the word terrorist, which has been used to describe myself in the past as a Muslim and many of my brothers and sisters, to describe Arabs and Muslims, is an extremely offensive slur rooted in imperialism. It is often used to delegitimize and dehumanize indigenous people's struggles for freedom from colonial rule. It is not an appropriate descriptor of Palestinian resistance to colonial rule. With these considerations in mind, Super unequivocally denounces all war crimes by Israel and otherwise, and targeting of civilians and civilian infrastructure. Ours is a just fight for liberation and should never harbor this. Thank you very much. Today in Torah we'll be hearing from a number of speakers, many of whom are Palestinians themselves and who have been fighting for years for the liberation of Palestine through their words and through their actions. These are great people that I think deserve our utmost respect. Our first speaker, Professor Wasim from MSU, who's over there. Thank you, everyone.
Palestinians in Palestine, at least my generation, we don't have the luxury of sometimes of saying what we feel. So we have to be, my generation, have to be very measured. And as such, I had written my statement which I hear that I mean everything. So my name is Wasim, and from the beginning, Samir had mentioned, even before introducing myself, that we deplore the loss of all innocent lives, regardless of who they are and where they come from. That said, I am here as a Palestinian, a former refugee, whose parents Israel made refugees in 1967. More than 3/4 of my family still live in this suffering city called Gaza. As we speak, my uncles, aunts, and cousins are living moment to moment, unsure if they will survive another day. Entire neighborhoods have been wiped out. Schools, universities, civil and commercial buildings, houses of worship, all gone. Fuel, water, electricity, and food have been completely cut from the city. Entire Palestinian families have been wiped out by targeted bombings. We have documented cases of journalists, paramedics, and even people trying to buy food in the early days of the slaughter who have been directly targeted by missiles. Israeli officials have made clear, have made clear by their words and actions that the international law and the Geneva Convention do not apply to them. What we have here is nothing short of a genocidal war. Meanwhile, unconditional moral and material support for Israel dominates the narrative in mainstream media and among our elected representatives. The US, EU, and Israel have engaged in campaigns of misinformation. We have opened calls for genocide among US politicians like Lindsey Graham, alongside the rampant use of dehumanizing language that casts Palestinians as animals and savages, less than human. All of this is part of an effort to provide cover for and justify the unjustifiable, the slaughter of the innocents. The devastation did not start last weekend with Hamas military operations. Let me briefly quote from a recent letter Georgetown faculty sent on Monday to their university president, reminding them of the existence of Palestinian civilians and children, which may not forget. Quote, on this Indigenous Peoples Day, we remind you that over 70 of Gaza's residents are descendants of those expelled by Israel in 1948. Many Gazans originally come from the lands around Ashdod and Ashkelon and were expelled in 1948. We remind you that Gaza has been under an Israeli blockade since 2007. We remind you that in the 2022 Israeli war on Gaza, 30 Palestinians were killed in Gaza, including women and children. We remind you that in 2022 Israeli war on Gaza, 261 Palestinians were killed in Gaza, including women and children. We remind you that in 2014, Israeli war on Gaza, 2,271 Palestinians were killed in Gaza, 562 of them children. We remind you that in 2008-2009 Israeli war on Gaza, 1,400 Palestinians were killed, 314 of them children. We remind you that when Gazans held peaceful marches in 2018-2019, the Great March of Return to the border fence, Israeli snipers responded by shooting tear gas, canisters, rubber bullets, and live ammunition. As a result, 214 Palestinians, unarmed Palestinians, civilians, including 46 children, were killed, and over 36,100, including nearly 8,800 children, were injured. There will be no end to the suffering of the innocent. There will be no end to the cycle of violence as long as people in the U.S. and Europe, especially those in the mainstream media and elected officials, are unwilling or unable to see Palestinians as human beings with the right to live free from occupation. Apply international law equally to all. When we selectively choose who is worthy of human rights and who is not, we empty the concept of its meaningful content. And that is a danger to all. We all lose. Thank you. Takbir! Takbir!